Good day, students. Happy April 3rd if you're watching this on the day it was assigned. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday. Hope this Friday goes well for you in the beginning of a great weekend, beginning of spring break really is one way to look at it. These next 9 days after today are going to be wonderful. So hopefully today's assignment will be a beginning of that wonderfulness, and look up that word and you probably won't find it in the dictionary, so never mind. Anyway, freshmen, hopefully today's treating you well. Today's assignment, if you don't have this, it's not in your book, the way to accomplish it is go to the next link down in the module, and you can pause this video, go to that link and write down the problems, or print off the worksheet, whichever of those is most convenient for you. Go ahead and do that now to have access to that while we talk, and come back after you've done that. So go ahead and hit pause now and make sure you have access to these items either on a blank piece of paper or having printed it off. And here we go. Today's assignment, combining like terms, is actually something you've been doing your whole life since kindergarten. When your teacher asked you to say, hey, what's 1 plus 1? They're asking you to combine like terms. These are both constants, and so you're combining constants. The kindergarten teacher could have easily have said, hey, students, let's add a plus a. It's the exact same thing. So on today's assignment, where it might look a little daunting, especially towards these last problems here at the bottom, just know that the concept of today, the math idea of today, is simply what you've been doing your whole life. You're just combining like terms. So here we go, working out a couple of these. If you look at some of these, you'll see it's just the same two-step, multi-step problems. You've been doing it for a while, so I won't take the time on those. On problems like this, just to take the 11, it's divided off that entire side of the equation, that side of the equal sign, so you can multiply both sides by 11 to get 22 is the same thing as 6m. I didn't show the step, but I just multiplied both sides by 11. And then you can just subtract 6 off of both sides to get the m is 16. But again, these problems up here, you've done them before, you've worked on them before. I'm not going to take the time in this video to work through these. Want to spend your time and not take up too much of your time discussing this combining like terms concept. When you add two numbers from, say, the number line, you just add them together as you've done before. The calculator will do it. You're combining like terms. Here, right here, you're finding like terms. This 11 is not the like term as this x, or this 1 right here is not a like term with the n. Or this p right here is not a like term of 65, because this is a variable and the p means something then, this constant 65. So you cannot combine these constants and these variables, these numbers and these letters. When you get further on in years, we've even done a little bit this year, when you get x and y and z all in the same equation, you can't combine those because they're not like terms. When we have equations of lines of y equals mx plus b, or y's and x's, and you try to get the y by itself. Those y's and x's are not like terms, so you can't combine them. This introductory day 1 combining like terms assignments, we're all just using only r's, one kind of variable, only m's in this equation. We're keeping it to just one variable per equation. We did in the past, you guys saw it when we had to do equations where we solved for a certain variable, but right now, to keep it simple, just keeping the variable, just one variable on the equation. So with that concept in mind, if I have 3x's and 7x's and I'm adding them together, it's the same thing as I could write 3x's here, I could write 7x's here. If you have 3 of them and 7 of them and you add them together, you add the coefficient. 3 plus 7 is 10x's. And 10x's equal 10. Once you've combined the like terms on all of these, then you can simply solve for the variable once the variable is only written one time in the equation. So divide both sides by 10 to get you that x is 1. As always, you can check your work. You can put the 1 in place of x. 3 1s plus 7 1s, does that equal 10? I could write it all out. Yes. Yes, it does. So that is the right answer. Right here on number 8, it's the same concept I did up here on number 5. To get the combined terms, you can combine those right now if you want. right? The negative 7n over negative 7 is 1. You can combine negative 5n's and you take off 2, you're all the way down to negative 7. But if you just multiplied, that's one way to go about it. And you could continue on that vein. You can kind of see what's going to happen here with these two negative 7's. But let's say I just multiplied by negative 7 first as my first step. Times by negative 7 and times by negative 7 to give me that negative 7 is negative 5n minus 2n. Either way you chose to do that, whichever of those steps you did as the first step is right. It's just a matter of getting to the n answer a different way. So multiply both sides by the negative 7. So the negative 7 is now negative 5 minus 2n. We're now at that negative 7 over here. Negative 7n. And then to get the n by itself, again, from 7th and 8th and earlier this year equations, one-step equations, divide both sides by negative 7. And negative 7 divided by 7, and negative 7 is 1. You can, again, check your work to put the 1 back in place again. Two different ways to solve it as your first step. Whichever first step is most comfortable for you, do that first step. So on number 9, I'll just do it one way. But if you did it another way, just do it your way and come to the end. Let's just see if we both end up with the same answer in the end. Multiplying both sides by 11 gives me that negative 22 is x minus 7 minus 6x. Combining these like terms, if you know that there's a number in front of that x, you're doing great. If you're not sure about that number in place of the x, just know that when there's no number there, when you have a variable, but we don't know how many because we haven't written it, it's 1. So often we don't write the 1s and the 0s, it's a 1. If it was a 0 there, then it's like it's not even there. So it's not 0, it's 1 that's always there. So 1x's, I can combine that with this minus 6x's. So negative 7 is there. X minus 6x's is negative 5x's. Then to add 7 to both sides, we're trying to get all the way down to where x is by itself. Negative 22 plus 7 in your calculator gives you negative 15 is the same thing as negative 5x. And you can see how we're trying to get the answer to be some integer that's easy to work with. 1 and 1, and you can probably already see what the integer is going to be here. Negative 15 is negative 5 times what? Or to get the x by itself, whichever of these ways makes most sense to you. Divide by the negative 5, so that x, because that just reduces to 1, 1x. Type in your calculator if you'd like. Negative 15 divided by negative 5 gives you 3. The rest of these, a lot of these going down, they're not as difficult or complicated as this one. 7n's plus 1n is 8n's. Plus the 1 is negative 15. Then it's a two-step equation we can work out. Subtract 1 from both sides. And then when you divide that 8 off of the n, divide by 8 on both sides. Negative 16 divided by 8 in your calculator is negative 2. As I race through these, I'm mainly wanting to focus on this combining like terms. I know there's a certain number of k's there, it's just how many are there? Well, there's negative 7 plus 3. And if you're not sure with these negatives, start at negative 7 on the number line, come up, go to the positive direction, 3 gets you to negative 4. Or type in your calculator if you'd like, negative 7 plus 3, if that's easier to understand than negative 4. Whichever way works best to get that number by combining the k's is negative 4. Divide by negative 4 both sides so that k equals negative 4 divided by negative 4 reduces to 1. If you ever get a fraction on any of these, maybe check your work, put the fraction back in, as you see us trying to make these as simple for you as possible. Negative 8 p's, minus 4 p's, minus p, that's a lot of p. We got negative 13 of them is negative 65. If you know your times tables, you might already have an answer there because it's right after the 12. But divide by negative 13 on both sides. And now you know that P is 5. If I combine these two, do you know what you'll get off the top of your head? Negative 2 plus 4, do you know what that number is? Do you know that's 2 m's? Is negative 12. If you divide off the 2, you get that m is negative 6. What about over here? Do you know what, whoa, look at that. There's only one x there. That's wonderful. We love that. Nothing left to do, right? Oh, we're combining like terms. We can combine these terms. So it's a positive 5 plus 7. You know what 5 and 7 is. And then again, it's just a two-step equation from 7th grade from earlier this year and 8th grade. You subtract 12 from both sides. So that negative 2x's is, on your calculator, that will give you, if you start at the negative 2 and you go down 12 more, you're at negative 14. Dividing by negative 2 both sides lets you know that x is 7. And you can put that 7 back in there. 5 minus 2 7s plus a 7, does that give you negative 2? You can see that you did it right. Down here, lots of r's. You know, with all these r's here, it makes me think of the pirate. You know what a pirate's favorite letter is, right? You might think it's R, but really his true love be the C. Anyway, just something to make you smile on this Friday. 5 r's plus however many r's that is, if you can remember, plus 2 r's gives you 8 r's. That's a 1 r right there. 5 plus 1 plus 2 is negative 8. All those 8s. If you're level 4, if you're understanding this and you're still watching, you just divide all those through by 8 if you wanted. You get 1 plus 1r is negative 1. And that makes it even easier to resolve. But forget I said that if you're not to that point of wanting to see a little trick you can do. That can get you in trouble if you don't do it right. Subtract 8 from both sides. Minus 8, minus 8. So negative 8 and another negative 8. Negative 16. 8 times what is negative 16? When you divide that 8 off of both sides, you get negative 2. And finally, see if I can get this done before 13 minutes. We're at 12:40. So 3 plus 7 is 10x's over 4 is negative 10. Multiply both sides by 4. So 10x is negative 40. 10 times what is negative 40? Well, x is negative 4. I don't want this to be a 13-minute video, so you guys have a great weekend and spring break. Bye-bye.